Тут кто-нибудь есть?
Another
That's the
textbook
last of them.
example of skill and grace. Okay, let's do this. I will snuff out those eyes.
Now the dead
that's how
find
it's
peace in
done.
Sovngarde. Hold on. Did you hear something?
You're dead.
You're no ancestor of mine, Dwarven.
Я тебя убью.
Let's see how you like this. When we spill their blood, we wash the land clean.
Never saw anything like this back on the island. I'm so glad I left that place.
Yours is quite pretty. You should cherish it. A mortal has but one, although she wears many.
Dragon!
I think the
Teamwork,
head cracked
right
on
there.
that one.
Self gets around it.
Pale or plain, little is said, but in time all is written, in forests of grey or in barren canyons of earth. And when the night draws its curtains on twin suns, all that is left is nothing. All that was is hollow. Tell me, my lady, of what do I speak?
That soul smelt of onions and rotting teeth.
Correct. You understand then that to wear many faces and to be without a face is the end. But that was then. Such limitations do not apply. Perhaps you would like to volunteer that lovely face of yours for a makeover? Before the worms decorate it with freckles? If you wish to hear my credentials first, then know that I am a disciple. Yet, I digress, for what you require first is a name. I am Yethrael. True. Although, still, I could not be farther from... I spent another decade when I finished. Yet the Morik tongue is no more, and the guilds are as brittle. Like the chirurgeons of Cloudrest and the slave sculptors of Aliad lore, they are masters of the art of molding flesh. Yes, as their existence is as much for 7 days. What is it? I collapsed on a nameless dune, surrendering to the heat and the vultures that loomed overhead. Yet, as the birds descended, their faces lost all expression, their eyes as hollow as midnight. As it turns out, they were not vultures, but men, nomads, crossing the desert. I pleaded for water first, and for direction second. The 3 nomads obliged, and led the way. I had no choice but to follow. If your skin is cut by the next morning... I insisted no. Demanded they tell me what had happened to the others. They said nothing, and once more bade me to follow. So it went as we traveled across the coastal kingdoms, through sandstorms and mountains and the snake pit of Balhar. Every night I bade my guides farewell, for every morning I knew another set would take their place. Undoubtedly, when we reached Sullen Eye, the guide said, "You may follow," he said, "but a name I cannot give." Must we prattle on about the particulars? I would much rather spend time in the arms of a young adventurer. But if you must know, they are assassins, priests. Like followers of Sithis, the Hollows walk the path of the living void. The lifeblood of their magic comes from their tribal gods, to whom they pay tribute at the Shade Temple strewn across the Alekir. They walk this long pilgrimage. The sandstorms cut away at their flesh, shaping their countenance, eroding flesh and bone. It is true in Hammerfell sand plays. It is sand, and that is the answer to your query. A bed of the ancient. It is not the same type of saw. The sand. The end product is a blade that can shape and cut bone as easily as a man shaves his beard. I appreciate your candor. Do not misunderstand, your face is quite lovely. It simply needs to be fine-tuned. The creators can be quite sloppy with their work. Your face is indeed to say that I am out of practice would be generous. Instead, I have focused all of my resources on sculpting the undead. Restoration. Restoring dead flesh. I can shape, yet incisions must be made. An incision. It back then. Of course, it is a coven. Nay, in truth, I would have followed any coven, but after my time in the desert, I longed to see the ocean. Witchcraft natural. It is said that there was still much I had wished to learn from the beldam of the coven, but such knowledge was only available to the most devoted of supplicants. If by that you mean there are things practiced in the dark. The high, in time, thieves, criminals, and Isn't it obvious? How can I be a sculptor of the dead without dead people to sculpt? True, but I do not. For one, there was a male hip bone widened. One of my form. However, as my skin. Yet it all began with that. As the bandits. Something about setting up camp overlooking a sleeping giant. His words only confused me. But perhaps you... Excellent. And I assure you, If you do this for me, you will be handsomely rewarded.
What a big bad kitty!
Those challengers are fated to die.
These are some tough opponents. Keep your guard up.
Теперь ты поплатишься.
Let's see how you like this. Now that's how it's done.
Ау, кто там?
А? Теперь ты в моей власти.
You bastard! Мы разгромлены! Отступаем!
Точно, был какой-то звук.
то, что наша попытка. Меня не спрятаться.
Don't die, my friend. No.
Yours is quite pretty. You should
Ready your
cherish
weapon,
it.
my friend.
A mortal has
Done and done.
brave or bare, pale or plain. Little is said, but in time all is written, in forests of grey or in barren canyons of earth. And when the night draws its curtains on twin suns, all that is left is nothing. All that was is hollow. Tell me, my lady, of what do I speak? Correct. You understand then that to wear many faces and to be without a face is the essence of life, and
You are
only
a
in
sucker,
death
my
do
friend,
we
but
return
I
to the
still
one.
like you.
But that was then. Such Perhaps you would like to volunteer that lovely face of yours for... If you... Yet, I digress. For what you were... True. Still, I could not... I spent another decade when Yet the Moric tongue is no more, and the guilds are like the chirurgeons of Cloudrest and the slave sculptors of Aliad lore. They are masters of the... Yes, as their existence is as much folklore as their abilities. I trek to hammer the high... In time, thieves, criminals... Isn't it obvious? How can I... True, but for one, there was a male one of my... However, Yet it all began with that... As the band... Something about setting up camp overlooking a sleeping giant. Excellent. And I assure you, if you do this for... What is it? Safe travels.
When we spill their blood, we wash the land clean.
Let's get this over with. this.
You bastard! Хватит!